That's it. I quit. On today's episode, how to properly quit your job. All right, let's get started. Number 1, give proper notice, but not too much. The standard is likely 2 weeks, and depending on what you're doing, you might want to give 3 or 4. However, watch out for giving too much notice. There is definitely a thing of overstaying your welcome. Listen, you've decided that you're moving on for whatever reason. That means that now, all of those conversations that you've been a part of, you no longer are. It's a lame duck situation. You become ineffectual. Number 2, put it in writing. Not only is this important for HR purposes, but it's a way of expressing yourself. And when I say expressing yourself, I'm not talking about negative justifications for why you're leaving your job. Consider it in terms of a relationship. If you're the person doing the breaking up, there's nothing you're really going to say that's going to make the other person feel like there's a reason for doing so. This isn't the time to rail on the company. And take it from me, I've done it more than a time or two. I felt my opinion was really important. I wanted to let them know why I was disappointed and why I left. And I regretted it every single time. Keep it positive and professional and thank them for the opportunity. Number 3, don't announce that you're leaving to everybody. Leave that up to your employer. Announcing to people that you're leaving is just a way of you trying to get attention. People often do this because they feel like the people they're working with are their friends. Oftentimes they're work acquaintances. And you'll figure that out once you leave the job and you start hearing from those people less and less. Number 4, don't slack off. If anything, work harder. Why? Because you're being judged on how you're leaving. You're leaving a bunch of people who are excited about being a part of a group that now you've chosen to leave. If you just phone it in or become lazy at the end, it will only reflect negatively and give people justifications for why it's good that you're gone. You want people to miss you because you did a good job. Number 5, don't assume that you're going to train your replacement. You've decided that you're moving on, and your employer very well might be justified in thinking that you wouldn't be the best person to train who's going to take your place. You've no longer found value in being there. And probably not to mention that there's an unconscious tendency for you to be more negative than you think about the company. Number 6, don't be cagey when it comes to talking about where you're going. This happens a lot. People will say, "Oh, I'm just not going to tell you where I'm going." Why? If your current employer can call your future employer and get you de-hired, if de-hired is a word, that future employer is not somebody you want to work for either. And number 7, don't shit talk your current employer to your future employer. Don't show up at your new job and talk about how awful it was and how terrible your boss acted. It's like going on a date and talking about your ex the entire time. Nobody wants to hear it, and it shows that you haven't gotten over it. Not to mention that the industry is too small, and what you say will probably find its way back to your previous employer. No reason to burn a bridge. All right, that's it. This is some strategies on how to quit your job correctly. Good luck with your new one. And if you're finding all the same problems in your new employer as you did in your previous, it might be you. Thank you so much as always for tuning in. Don't forget to pick up a copy of my book, The Surprise Restaurant Manager, available online at all great bookstores and on Audible if you want to hear me talk for 5 hours. By the way, today there was a lot of fumbling. Please enjoy watching this montage of me messing up while trying to make this video. However, watch out for giving... Nothing you're going to say is going to... And not to mention that there's And not to mention that there's probably a tendency for you to... And not to mention there's an unconscious tendency. Oh, shit. Thanks so much. Y'all take care.